We are going to be talking about the challenges and issues for developing data centers in our region as we seek to scale up our digital footprint. So my name is Louise. I'll be moderating this panel. A quick introduction of myself. I work at Milbank, one of the leading law firms representing developers and financial institutions in connection with financing of data centers in the US and Latin America. I'm very happy to be here with this group. I'll quickly introduce them. I was asked to introduce them, so bear with me. I have, and I'm going to go in the order that I have here. I have Rafael, raise your hand. Garrido is the CEO of 247 Data Centers, one of the major data centers operators in LATAM. He has over 20 years of experience in this market and brings direct experience navigating these complex realities of building facilities that meet the needs of cloud and technology clients. Fernando, where are you? Fernando is the commercial director of tenants, LATAM. He has over 3 decades of experience in data center area. Stands out for his close relationship with clients and deep technological expertise. His career path ranges from preparation of projects, specification, technical support, installation, training, and maintenance of these infrastructure systems. We have Dante. Dante is the collocation project manager at Taxios. He's a mechanical engineer with postgraduate degree in project management. He has over 10 years of experience across sectors like data centers, healthcare, aeronautics, working with global leaders such as Austin, Schneider Electric, and now Taxios, where he focuses on collocation business across international markets, especially LATAM. Then we have Afonso Nina here with us. He's the executive president of Brascom. This is the Brazilian Association of Information and Communication Technology and Digital Technology Companies, where he has also served as member of the board of directors. He has over 35 years of experience in IT, financial service. He's also a member of the National Council for Industrial Development. Last but not least, I have Ivo here. Ivo is the CEO and Chief Revenue Office at SEK, Security Ecosystems Knowledge. It's a leading cybersecurity company focused on protecting critical infrastructure and digital environments across LATAM. Under his leadership, SEK has strengthened its position in threat detection, incident response, and managed security services, helping organizations build cyber resilience and respond to the region's growing digital risk. So thank you for our panelists to be here. Let's get started with the discussions. So Rafael, will start with you with maybe a broader question that goes to our panel. But tell us a bit about the most pressing supply chain challenges you're facing today in developing and operating data centers in the region, and where the biggest delays and cost pressures are coming from.
Thank you. Well, I could stay 2 days here and speak about challenges. But try to summarize, one important thing is that the technical requirement today is different than yesterday and will be different than tomorrow. So we are trying to navigate in something new. The market is changed, and as change the technical requirement, change the supply chain strategy. But trying to answer your question, I would say first one, power connection. I think people already speak here about how strong we are in generation, electricity generation, power connection and electrical substation today, delivery times even higher than the time to building new data centers. What I'm trying to say is that that's one thing. If you are looking to really grow and capture the international demand for AI, that's one thing we need to address as a country. Because we will unlock a lot of investments and we help the country really capture the demand. That's the first one. The second one, after we pass this big challenge, still the biggest portion of all the equipments used in a data center are sourced by international companies. And as we look for the future, a lot of AI demand around the world, we should compete in the supply chain of equipment here with other countries. So the suppliers still are the same here in United States, Europe, and Asia. So planning and work very close with strong suppliers will be key to really be able to capture the demand. And there is another topic, it's not related to supply chain, but I do believe we should highlight is that we need to take care of the new generation of talents, people. One important thing I have not heard in the discussion is people to really operate and support this tremendous growth we have heard here. So we need to take care of the supply chain strategy, power connection, be close and planning and have a strong planner with international players. On top of that, it's not a supply chain, we need to take care about people. What is the next generation will help us to really operate gigawatts of data center. I think we have a lot of space opportunities to do much better in this space too, and it's key. Data center business is operated by people. We can bring here the best technology, we can create the best environment, relate economic and political situation, and red data and other stuff, but we should be with a strong focus about the development of the next generation of people, talents, to help source this growth in the country. That's the summary.
Thank you, Garrido. I saw you nodding very, expressly. So let me go.
Yeah, so I completely agree with what Garrido said, and what was I was wondering is that Telxius, maybe it's not so well known in the data center segment, but I think that we have the biggest footprint here in Latin America. So we are present like in Dominican Republic, we are present in Puerto Rico, Guatemala. So these are those are countries that we do not hear much about. But these countries face way different challenges in terms of infrastructure. So one thing is to get equipment there. So when we talk about Brazil or Chile or even Colombia, trust me, it's way easier to get equipment over there than like in Central America or even the Caribbean region. And also when we talk about like energy infrastructure maturity or even the talents that Garrido also said, we have to deep dive and have like incentivize international exchange for people to get in touch with high technology, for example. So we have to take people from Brazil, from Chile, and send these people to those regions in order for them to understand what is a hyperscale data center, what is like operating a data center by itself. So this is what I was. So challenges that we are talking about here when we go abroad to other countries, it's way tougher than this.
And when you're also, discussing challenges, what are other, ideas or how you tackle those in terms of, diversifying suppliers or, changing timelines or specs to adjust to these challenges that we have here?
We need to. I like to make some comparisons to make it easy to understand. And I see the data center market as a spoiled child. They want everything for now and they want it. And tomorrow they will want another thing. So time to delivery, I think it's the main challenge here. Because they don't want, they don't want and they can't wait, So it's a spoiled child that owns the money. They can pay for what they want right now. So all the panels here today they have one thing come time to deliver. Because when we say that we need the implementation of REDAP to reduce taxes, it's for now. When we say transmission lines to deliver all the power that we can generate, it's for now. You know, when we say supply chain in terms of equipment and even services, that goes what Garrido said here about people to operate and to deliver that, it's for now. So I think that's the main challenge here. We don't have time anymore to develop all that. So we need to think out of the box for any solution. And as I said, tomorrow they want another thing. So if you address the problem today, tomorrow will be another problem. So that's one of the main challenges to this market at this moment. And I have been in this market for 30 years, and it has always been like that. So it's a nice thing. You know, I don't like boring things, so always a new adventure. But if you stay in this market, you need to have new ideas every day. So, and we need to solve those issues. So what we're discussing today, as it was said here, tomorrow will be another issue. This market suffered a huge transformation 4 or 5 years ago, and now we are facing another one. So there is no time to breathe between them. You need to deploy everything that you have now, but tomorrow is another challenge. So I think that all the panelists here covered already the issues that we have today.
It seems like one of the main challenges, you know, other than people that we can get to more energy, it's the local supply, right, for equipment. So where do you see meaningful opportunities, right, to strengthen our local sourcing without compromising quality or cost, without being so reliant on import?
Well, I do believe, taking the link of the Madureiro's comment, it's not something we need to have a solution in 3 or 4 years. It's for now. So we should find the ways to use different supply chain strategy, work with the global vendors, work much more in planning. I would say 4 years ago, maybe we should have a planning looking for a period of time. Now we need to look 2 times ahead. So we need to increase our capacity to plan, because things will change every single day, as Madureira said. But we need to be able to still deliver solutions and capture the demand. And for today, I would say, in our market, we have used it to be close to customers, investors. We need to have the suppliers as a key stakeholders in this process. The combination of strong suppliers, strong partnerships, investors and customers are the best solution for today to really be able to work in this dynamic market and to make sure we're going to be able to capture the demand. That's the way I have seen, and that's the way I have worked to really capture and solve the problems today.
So I think that we say data center operators, we have always have to have a backup plan. So only relying on international providers is not a good thing. So when we talk about high technology equipment like hardware, like servers or GPUs, okay, we have to search to source abroad. But when we talk about the infrastructure itself, like UPS, cooling systems, it's a good thing to look for local suppliers as well and try to develop them in order to have like the second option. For example, I have seen local manufacturers in Brazil selling equipment to other countries in the Latin America region. First of all, it was a matter of those the customers in need of those hardware not seeing those hardwares available in the market, in the international market. Like if they wanted to buy from an international manufacturing company, they would not find it because, as Garrido said in the beginning, we are competing against other countries, and maybe at that time those countries had a greater demand than Brazil or Chile, and that's why it's opened up an opportunity for those local manufacturers to sell in country and also in the region as well. So I think it's also an opportunity for the region to develop and to be like less dependent on other manufacturers from other countries.
Do you have any views on that from your perspective? Importing, exporting those equipment for your cybersecurity concerns?
Yeah, for sure. From my perspective, from let's say the security and cybersecurity perspective here, for sure that I consider cyber a key part of the supply chain for data centers. That for sure the war is power supply. I believe it's work. A little bit higher probably. Okay. So from our perspective, we consider the security and the cyber part of the supply chain, and for sure even more with all the different equipments, providers, and how to provide and to make this secure on the time that you are building your data center, that you are providing your services on the day-to-day basis with all the technology, as the fellow said here, that we have like needs today and the needs are going to change tomorrow, and every time that you have new appliances or new firmwares, new hardwares, new even cooling systems and all the basic infrastructure and the physical infrastructure that the data center needs, it's a potential breach right now. So let's say that talk about cybersecurity in the week that we had the larger money heist in Brazil is a little bit easier, but in a day-to-day we know that it's sometimes not so relevant in this discussion. So I believe that it's a challenge from my perspective to sensibilize even in the chain that cyber is critical, and for sure to have reliability on the services and on the way the data center is that they are going to provide services. It's key. It's something I much more to highlight and to remind how relevant it's in the foundations of hybrid services that we are going to offer to the data centers.
So, Afonso, I know Rescom has had an important role, right, in pushing forward those incentives and policies to incentivize data center investors. So, would want to turn to you and get your perspective. I know a lot of people were looking forward to hear from you today. That's what I heard out there. So, tell us a bit. I mean, you've been doing a lot of effort on that in that front. But how can the government play a role in facilitating this, equipment manufacturing locally in the near term to help with those, challenges that we're having?
Yeah, I think this comes in the big picture of the data, which everybody's here looking forward to seeing coming out of the and go into the Congress. But we know, basically, the things that have been discussed there. One of the key aspects is really this balance, which is a delicate balance between imports and local production. So we have discussed this with the government already, but basically to step back a little and give the perspective of, it has been discussed here before, that the tax burden on the equipment is a big issue, and then here we have to separate the different layers of that. You're talking about federal taxes, import taxes, then you have the PIS/COFINS, which is the federal tax, and then the data doesn't go into the state level tax, ICMS, which we are also discussing with some state governments. But when it comes to the import taxes, what we are expecting first is that on the PIS/COFINS side, the proposal that is coming is basically to bring forward 1 year what our tax reform has already approved, which is the exemption on taxes for capital investments from 2027 to 2026, and that would be a benefit for the whole industry. Now, in terms of the import taxes, there isn't a change in terms of what the current scenario has, that if you don't have similar local production, then you can import with no import taxes. But basically, it's a streamlining of the process, better transparency on the rules, more agility on the process, and more legal guarantee that everything is going to happen through the process until we have the equipment delivered here. So, and that's where your question comes into play, which is how do we balance as a country the import of these equipments, which today we're talking about some 80% of the capex is being imported, versus developing a local industry that will give us also the supply chain alternatives, not to be just dependent on the external market. This is not an easy point. We have started discussing that at the government level and with associations of the producers and manufacturers of equipment, both for the infrastructure and the hardware, servers, network, and so on and so forth. Basically to make sure that we find the right balance of how can we define which components or which equipments it makes sense for Brazil to produce locally, and which ones, if we try to produce locally, either it's going to take too long or we're never going to be competitive in the global market. And again, the word global here is important because the size of the market in Brazil is going to be 3, 4, 5, whatever, 5% of the global market. So if you want to have a policy that will incentivize the local production, you have to be looking at a global scale. Because our local scale is only going to be able to hold that for a couple of years, and then after that, we're going to be competing with global supply chain. So basically, there is not a solution for that yet in terms of which equipment should be prioritized in that. But there is already a view in what's coming in the red data that first, the import of the equipments, you need some security or need to be sure that whether what you start importing today, you're still going to be able to import in 5 years down the road without all of a sudden having import taxes that were not there first. So this is something that they said is going to be part of the proposed law. And the second point is how the funding, and that's what we also heard from the governments, that there's going to be probably 2% contribution from the imports that will go to a fund that is expected to help the local industry manufacturer produce those equipments here. How that funding is going to be applied is not clear yet. We have started discussing that, but there is no direction defined yet. But I think that will be a very important topic of discussion for us as an industry to talk to government. Okay, let's really use that to make the right incentives for the right equipments that we need to have here produced here, and that will make Brazil competitive in the global world. So otherwise, we're going to be wasting money in producing equipment that are not going to be sustainable in the medium term in terms of scale.
You see any really real, concrete progress on those discussions? I mean, there's the reduction there, but other than that, do you see that actually coming to play?
The data first. The data is ready. Everybody knows here. We are all anxious to see that go into the Congress. The information we have is the and we have had this information for quite a while now, probably 2 months almost, that the bill is ready to be signed by the President of Congress. But then several issues came up. The last one, the most complicated one, is this IOF discussion that is happening right now, which held back this process. But what is clear is that this is a bill, and that's not the whole package. Other than that, you have the decretos, right, the judicial orders, you have other regulations, we have some what we call portarias. So all those things that come after the bill is approved in the Congress, and they have started preparing this package of other measures. We have started discussing with them, but basically they won't be signed until the law is finally approved. So there is going to be a parallel process while this bill goes through the Congress process. We will try to start developing the discussions on these other instruments in parallel as much as possible, so that when the law is finally approved in the Congress, this other part that is totally necessary to make things work is hopefully 80% ready, and then we can save time in getting the whole package in action.
Christine, do you have any perspective that you'd like to add on this one?
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to compare also the other initiatives I've seen in other countries in the region. For example, Chile, we all know that the country has been working before us in terms of data center attraction. There is also Colombia with their free trade zones. They are creating a new one for the hyperscale business and for the gigawatt data centers. There is also some free trade agreement between Costa Rica and Nicaragua, for example, because Nicaragua has some issues to bring equipment inside the country, so we will bring from Costa Rica and then go inland to their country as well. But all of those countries, they are trying their best to be, let's say, exposed to this foreign investment, but they do not have what we have in Brazil, is that our internal market is still extremely bigger than yours. So in terms of population, in terms of market understanding, in terms of companies and other things. So even though we are a little behind when compared to those other countries, our internal market is still worth it to receive this kind of investment. So I think this is also important to understand when we are thinking that Brazil is a little bit behind, but when we look at the region itself, we are not so far behind.
Some matter of perspective, right? Comparison. I would like to change a little bit here the topic and discuss the standardization when we're talking about construction of data centers, for example. And I wanted to see Fernando and all the others who free to training. What are the challenges when you're aligning global design standards with what is regional and customization here in Latin America? And is there a gap at all, or is it very standard?
The data center market wants a standardization all over the world. What we need to think about is that they don't see the borders that we have when it comes to countries. So we have local legislation, we have local standards that you need to adapt this standardization to comply with local laws. And that's it's not difficult to be made. So that's not an issue. At Burns, at the moment we are working with around 8 countries in Europe developing designs from Brazil. So we just need to understand what are the borders, what are the limits when it comes to technical side, because as it was said in the panel before, the suppliers are the same. all over. So it's a small local adaptation that you need to do. But when it comes to legislation, that's what is holding Brazil back a little bit. If we had a clear legislation adapted to these markets, I have no doubt that Brazil would be the best place to do, because we have space, we have energy, we have, although it's, we miss yet a little bit, we have people competent enough to deal with that here in Brazil. We export people actually. So if we have this clear legislation regarding taxes and protected data, as it was said before in other panel, the investors just need to understand how safe they are here. And I believe that's the only part. But when it comes to standardization, no issue.
I would like just to add is Brazilian market is really strong in talent, construction, design, and all the other things. It's important to say we are looking for the challenge ahead of us to become like a global hub, but really important to share that we need to recognize the data center industry has done very well in the last 20 years. It's when you're looking for project deployment in Brazil, compare with other parts of the world, we have strong people, strong companies, people have done very well. Innovation and many other stuff. So all the challenge we have comment here, it's much more ahead, the future, and be ready for the next big wave. But the industry has done very well. People from Brazil look for technology, travel around the world to find solutions, strong ideas to innovate. So we need to recognize our industry as really strong, and we need to take actions, all that we have talked here, to be ready for the future.
Yeah, I want to, one thing that you said, is to feel secure here, and I want to take the lead here and talk to you here, because cybersecurity, of course, is a huge issue, important issue right now for everyone. But from your perspective, right, from the cybersecurity perspective, how the standardizing these designs and using these modular solutions affect the security and the resilience of the data center infrastructure?
Thank you. Yeah, let's say that at the time that we start with the standards, if we consider as part of the standards of security, it's going to be good for sure. Anyway, it's not something that is going to be granted. Anyway, we have to. It's something that is live, as we heard. In the bottom line, we need to be flexible here. We have to attend the customers' demands in a timely manner. Talking about the data center business as well. So, in these, let's say, mechanics of the business, for sure, even with the standards, we consider the zero trust approach in the standards with the incident response and the governance on that. That is pretty relevant, much more process than just technology. It's the key. So it's in the time that you make this part of the standards, it's going to be much more scalable, much more faster, and much more cheaper for the data centers to do that. And for sure, I'm very excited to be part of the supply chain of the data centers in this momentum of the second big wave as we are approaching here. So it's very good.
I'm told that we have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure anyone has any questions to the panel.
Hey, hello, Nelson from Vertivi. So we are talking about China in Brazil, but we know that Brazil is not Brazil. Brazil is São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, the south, northwest. So each region or each state has its own scenario, its own challenge and also opportunity. So considering that, So we have São Paulo. São Paulo is São Paulo. Most of the investment is here. Now we have a lot of investment in Rio de Janeiro. We have Scala AI in the south. We have Northeast with some opportunities because of cable and tax incentives. But of course that we have challenges for each region. So considering that, for this next wave, what region you guys think that it is a step ahead from the others?
It was said here today that it's a race that you need to win. So the first level is on the country level. And then once we win these races, Brazil or region Latin America, then we go to its second race, where to deploy all the investment that's coming. Each area has a different challenge, and investors need to decide which challenge they will face, that they will take care. Okay, there are some wish lists from the market that makes São Paulo more attractive because they like to be close to other data centers, and São Paulo State concentrates 70% of the if you measure it by power. So, but that creates the problem that São Paulo has energy available. If you don't want to face this problem, you go to Northeast, as it was said before, or if you don't want to face it, like in Rio de Janeiro, it was said like that they have power there. So different challenges. You need to understand where you are willing to face those challenges, you know. But I think that the most important is to bring local guarantee in terms of region and Brazil. Brazil today still has 50% of the Latin American market. And if we don't move fast, we are going to lose this market share to other countries like Chile. So, but again, we need to be safe to do this.
Maybe one additional comment here is that let me share into this. Looking for a cloud and the growth we should capture in cloud. These markets are already there and will grow in the next year. No doubt about that. This market will always follow customers, and when I say customers, customer consuming clouds. So we should have like the distribution of the data centers following the economic activity of each region. That's the answer why we have São Paulo much more strong for the cloud piece. When we look to the possibility to really capture AI, is different. We are talking about to be a hub to export information for other regions. And my best guess, do not take this as a definition, but my guess is when we think about Brazil as a global hub in AI, the sea cable should drive the new hotspot of data centers in the country. That's my guess, because it will improve a lot the way to export this information to Americas, to Europe and Asia. So that should be my guess about the continue growing in where we have a lot of economic activities, clouds, and AI should be driven by sea cables, in my opinion.
So now putting my second hat, because Telxius is more known for the submarine cables. So it makes total sense what Garrido said. And also on top of that, when we look at the Brazil legislation itself and the government today is trying to diversify the landing places from the game. So instead of having everything landing like Toledo with 17 cable systems, and Rio and São Paulo, they are looking also for to other regions to receive those cables. And when you look at the past, let's say from 10 years from 10 years from now, we see that all the cables that have landed in certain cities or regions, it made this region grow in terms of technology, in terms of data center networks. So, and I also think that we have to understand which kind of business you have to develop or you want to develop in certain regions. For example, I have been talking to cloud companies, local cloud companies in the last 6 months. And they are also looking in the Northeast region because there is a lot of small and medium companies which are requiring this kind of business in their cities or in their states. And as of today, we are seeing that the major cloud companies are based at São Paulo, Rio, Santiago, so the main, let's say, economic regions. But those regions like the Northeast is not well served by these big companies, and that's why it's growing the kind of cloud companies like local companies serving these spots. So that's why we also see some important investments in the data center on those reasons.
Okay, I still had a lot of questions. But I think you guys can catch up with the panelists after if you have other follow-up questions. It's been a pleasure to meet you and to be here. Good afternoon, everyone.